Welcome, this is a brief overview of the Nissan 350Z. This is the GT edition, which means that it comes with raised alloy wheels and Brembo brakes, both front and back. It's a 2007, which means that in this instance it's the HR model, which is easily identifiable by this bonnet bulge, which means it has the later model engine, which has more power and is built from 80% different components than the previous model, which makes it more reliable. However, previous versions of this car are equally as reliable, so I've never heard of one going bang ever. It is a traditional two-seater sports car. As you can see from as I folded the seat forward there is absolutely no room for anyone else, even if there was seats there. There's very limited storage space in this car. As you can see, there's one big pocket there. There is no glove compartment. There's this little cubby hole at the top here, which can sometimes be filled with a Sat Nav, so that might not even be storage for you. There's quite a few of these little cubby holes that don't really store a lot, to be honest. You know, it's like, 2 fingers deep or what have you. And this is where the Bluetooth module sits, so really not a lot of storage space. A lot of places to put sunglasses and not a lot else. Onto the boot space. As you can see, not a lot of space there either. That's quite a small rucksack. You've got about enough space for one large rucksack and a few items. In front of it there's another bit of storage, but really not a lot more than a tea towel is going to go in there. It does say that you're able to store 2 golf bags, which is rather strange. I'm not sure why that's there, but I challenge anyone to really give that a go, because I doubt that you'll be able to do it. Just more on the storage space in the rear of the vehicle. As you can see, here is one of the cubby holes, which is difficult to open. Really not that much space. That's probably the biggest sort of storage space that you've got. This is the GT edition, and it comes with the Bose upgraded stereo. So it has, I believe, 6 speakers dotted around and 1 subwoofer, which sits behind the driver's side door, which I must admit is an absolutely fantastic sound system. The downside of this is that for some reason, there we go, in focus, that for some reason in 2007 they still thought it was a good idea to include tapes in there. It's a standard CD changer built into this head unit. This is the main downside with the 350Z, which is strange that it is just that the head unit itself is notoriously faulty, or should I say the 6 CD changer that they provide is the faulty part, and we'll skip. One of the most common hacks for this is that people run aux cables, which mine has, and I've had in both the 350Zs I've owned before this, and none of them I've put in so far. So it's basically something that everyone does straight away. It involves you having to run a tape in it, but once that's done you can use it as an aux cable. It's a very comfortable driving position. There's many adjustments. As you can see, there's 2 dots here that simply adjust both the front and the rear of the seat, and then as you can see here, there's 2 dials here that adjust forward backward motion and for the rear section of the seat tilt. Seat warmers, frankly rubbish. I don't think I've had a 350Z where if you turn them on they actually come on. They will just randomly decide to come on whenever they want. So the 2 bad points about this car so far: seat warmers, stereo. Other than that, the car is rock solid. I've had no problems with it. In the 30,000 miles that I've covered in both 350Zs, I have never had a single issue, and they have been a hard 30,000 miles. One of the nicest features about the driving position in the 350Z, whilst you can't see what's in front of you too far because the bonnet slopes down quite steep, the great thing is the instrument clusters, which, as you can see, revs, fuel and temperature and speed on the right hand side here. Most cars, when you unlock the steering column, which I'll do now, you move the steering wheel and the cluster stays where it is. With the 350Z and possibly the 370 as well, the cluster moves with the steering wheel, which means that if you're super tall and you tilt it up, you still look in the same place as if you were very short, like myself. One thing I will say is that this car is not for people that want to drive it delicately. It has a very, very heavy clutch that I have to put a lot of pressure on, and the gearbox is quite notchy, as you can hear. Now, this isn't an issue with my car. I've had many 350s and they've all been the same. Basically, it's just one of those things. It's the transmission. You can get this in an automatic as well, but I'm not sure why you'd be buying a sports car with an automatic gearbox. Overall, the car's quite cheap to run. The only expense really are brakes, which are the most expensive part. They'll set you back a few £100 when you need to replace them. Other than that, servicing costs are minimal. Most services cost me between £140 and £160, with the major service costing me between £300 and £400. That, however, only rolls around once every few years. This car does have some modifications, but I challenge you to find a 350Z that doesn't. The last one that I bought was modified when I had it, and I didn't even realise. Overall, great car to drive, fantastic motorway miler. However, the downside of that is that you'd be very lucky to get anything more than 25 miles to the gallon unless you're really cruising. That's pretty much it, I believe. The front end of every 350 that I've ever come across is quite badly stone chipped. Probably can't see it too much on mine, but it is there, trust me. It's because the front is so square and so low to the ground, it just attracts them. So expect any car that's, say, a 57 plate to a 59 plate or older to need a front end respray, and to be honest, mine needs a front end respray. So yeah, fantastic car, highly recommend it. A lot of bang for your buck, very enjoyable to drive. Okay, cheers.